Okay, perfect. So good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are. So I'm Julie Josse, I'm a senior researcher at INRIA, and I lead an INRIA INSERM team named Pre-Medical for Personalized Medicine by Data Integration and Causal Learning. So this is a joint team with INSERM, the National Research Center in Human Health and Medical Research, and in particular with Institut de Bré d'Épidémiologie et de Santé Publique, and jointly with Université de Montpellier. So this team is composed of researchers in statistics, biostatistics, and machine learning, but also clinicians. And one of the specialties of the team is also to have PhD students who are medical doctors. So it means that they are pursuing a PhD thesis in statistics, biostatistics, but they have a degree as clinicians. And for us, these profiles are really crucial to be able to transfer the methods we developed. They're also crucial for innovations and for a better adoption of the methods. So Pre-Medical has 3 research axes: personalized medicine by optimal prescription of treatment. So we develop method of causal inference for what we call policy learning. So we try to allocate the best treatment for each person at the right time. We also work on methods to design a bit ambitiously, with ambition, like the future of clinical trials. So we try to rethink the evidences needed to put treatment on the market and faster. Then the second research axis is personalized medicine by integration of different data sources. And as soon as you have data that you aggregate and it was not planned to do it beforehand, then you will face challenges such as missing value challenges. And you may also do not want to, or you cannot necessarily aggregate the data, and so you may want to learn from decentralized data and use techniques like federated learnings. And finally, personalized medicine with privacy and fairness guarantees. So as soon as you work with medical data, you want to be as much as private as possible, and also to be fair and to try to have models with similar performances across groups. So I will try to detail few works that we have done in each of these axes. So first, one of the main objectives of the team is also to develop and deploy machine learning tools while quantifying the uncertainty associated to the decisions. And this is currently what we are doing with collaborations with ICU clinicians who take care of trauma patients. So it's patients who suffer from brain injuries, hemorrhagic shock resulting from car accident, falls, or stab wound. And we are currently launching a randomized control trials. So it means that in half of the French ambulances, the ambulances will be equipped with predictive models so that they will fill a form, which you can guess on the 2 pictures here. And then it will output some patient outcomes. So for instance, what is the probability that my patient has an hemorrhagic shock, that he needs a neurochirurgy, or that he needs specific resource in trauma centers. So we are really in the process of testing in real time these machine learning models that we have developed. And what is really crucial and important for me is that sometimes the models can say, I don't know. So uncertainty quantification is really crucial when you develop such methods. So another objective of the team is to, as I mentioned, personalize the recommendation of treatment using causal learning. And I can use the same example to illustrate such a topic, because beyond predictive questions, the clinicians wonder whether or not they should administrate a specific treatment, for instance, here, tranexamic acid, to reduce mortality for brain trauma patients. So it's really what we call the causal effect questions, because I want to study the administration of a treatment on an outcome, which is here mortality. And you can, to answer such a questions, you can use different data sources. So randomized controlled trials are really the gold standard to assess the effect of a treatment, because basically you are going to flip a coin to give a treatment. And so you are sure that what you see is the effect of your treatment and not the effect of something else. Because basically the asymptotic distribution of the features between control and between treated patients is the same. So if you compute the mean of the age of the control, it will be the same as the mean of the age of the treated. And so you are sure that what you see is the effect of the treatment and not the effect of age. But the problem is that randomized control trials are known to have a lot of limitations. They can be expensive. It's long to set up trials. Sometimes, for instance, like during COVID, you just do not have time to do trials. And in addition, there are strong inclusion and exclusion criteria. So for instance, in trials, you do not have pregnant women, neither people with comorbidities. And consequently, you may fear that your trial population is really different from the population which may beneficiate from the treatment. So to assess the effect of treatment or intervention, there are other data sources. So data sources that we call observational data. So it's really data collected in routine in hospitals like registry, electronic health records. So they are abundant. You may think that are a bit less costly, more representative of a target population. But because you do not control the allocation of the treatment, you may fear that you will have and suffer from a lot of bias, and in particular, what we call confounding bias. So if in such data, it turns out that you have given your treatment to younger patients and that younger patients are less likely to die, then you need to be able to have methods to be able to disentangle the effect of your treatment to the effect of age, for instance. So in the team, that's why, in fact, what we do is that we combine both data sources, RCT and observational data, to try to combine their strengths and to tackle their weaknesses. And in particular, we develop methods combining these two data sources to be able to generalize a treatment effect, learn on an RCT to a target population. And this is also called like transportability, data fusion, recovery from selection bias, and so on. And an extreme example of such methods is the case of the drug Ibrance, where its efficiency has been demonstrated on women. So it's a drug for breast cancer, but the FDA has greenlighted its usage for men. So men is really a population which has not been studied in an RCT. They have not participated in an RCT. So it means that really you are able to, you have an RCT, you learn the effect of your treatment, and then you try to predict in other populations that can be very different with distributional shift, what will be the effect of your treatment. And in France, it has also an economical impact because a part of the price of the reimbursement of drugs is based on its efficiency. And here I can predict the efficiency in other populations. So we have developed a lot of what we call generalization methods using weighting, regression, doubly machine learning, and so on. And here I have displayed some results where I generalize the effect of tranexamic acid from a trial in blue to an observational data set in purple. And basically ATE is the average treatment effect. So when it is positive, it's percentage of mortality when you are treated minus percentage of mortality when you are controlled. So when it's negative, in fact, it means that the treatment effect is beneficial. And when it's positive, it means that the treatment effect is deleterious. And here I have displayed a lot of methods that we have developed. And you can see that the results vary a lot. So basically, like in blue here, we have a treatment effect which seems, a treatment which seems beneficial. And in pink here, it seems like slightly significant because it crossed 0. So maybe it's not significant in terms of treatment effect, or it's deleterious. So my point here showing this slide is to show that still there is a lot of research which is needed if you want to be able to deploy with confidence such methods. I truly believe in the impact of such methods, but yes, still there are a lot of research to be done. And here I put some of the recent work that we have done in this topic on generalizations. Okay. Here I have presented the case where I combine what I have called observational data with one RCT. But what we do in the team is that we work with a lot of observational data and a lot of different RCTs that can come from different years, different countries. And we try to use all these data sources to be able to at the end of the day, recommend a treatment for a patient and going towards more personalization of treatment. I said toward more personalizations because we have to acknowledge the fact that in many cases, like medicine is not yet really personalized, and you can have the same treatment which is given for everybody, no matter if you are a man or a woman, and if you may expect some heterogeneity, meaning that the effect of the treatment may depend on the characteristic of the patients. Okay. So as soon as you kind of aggregate different data from different sources, you can have the issues of missing values. Here it was represented in gray or in black in my plots. And here I have coded missing values with NA for not available. So I have in rows individuals like patients in different hospitals. And in columns, I have different features which can be of different natures. I can have clinical data, I can have genetic data, I can have questionnaires. And you can have like sporadic missing values. So for instance, you do not have one features for one patient, or systematic missing values. So for instance, here, this feature is not measured in hospital 1, whereas it's measured in hospital 2. Or, for instance, for one individual, I have access to his clinical data, but I do not have access to his biological data or genetical data. And so in the team, we develop a lot of tools to try to be able to deploy machine learning, to apply machine learning algorithm on incomplete data, because the point is that most of the machine learning algorithm cannot be applied on an incomplete data set like this. And so we have developed methods depending on your aims. So if you want to do inference, so for instance, if you want to estimate the coefficients of a regression model despite missing values, if you want to do matrix completion, so it means that impute as well as possible the missing entries, predict it as well as possible to be able to recover it, or if you want to do prediction, so it means that you want to predict as well as possible an outcome, given the fact that you have missing values in the features. And depending on the aim, the methods to deal with missing values will be really different. And just to illustrate this point, we have created a website listing all the missing values implementations, in particular in the statistical software R. And it was more than 200 different R packages on the topic. So that's why it really depends on what you would like to do. It is there is no like a generic method. So here in this data set, I have put like aggregated data. So I have all my data from hospital 1, all my data from hospital 2, and I managed to put everything in the same file. But often, due to data silos and regulation, it's not necessarily possible to aggregate all the data. So that's why in the team we develop a lot of works regarding federated learning, which consists in learning from decentralized data, but you will output a result as if the data would have been centralized. So in its simplest version, federated learning works as follows. You have a central server that will start with an initial value for your parameter of your models. Then each hospital here is going to update the value of the parameters using its own data and send the update to the central server for aggregation. And then the process will be iterated. So for instance, recently we have developed like causal federated learning to be able to learn treatment effects from decentralized data, and which can be seen as a compelling alternative to meta-analysis on individual data when you do not have access to the individual data. So when you do federated learning, you may think that in fact, in a way, you assure a bit more of privacy because you do not share data. Each hospital is really responsible and keep its own data. But it turns out that in fact, it's not enough to be able to ensure privacy and confidentiality, because all AI models and machine learning models really may themselves contain information about the individual data points that have been used to train them. So if you have access to the model, then it turns out that you may be able to retrieve like which point and who was in the data. And there have been some examples on this topic, and for instance, using ChatGPT, where people have tried kind of weird prompt, and by writing a weird prompt, which here are in blue, they have managed a bit to trick the system and to completely find the training data points and completely like private informations. So usually, an AI models cannot be considered as anonymous. So if you want to ensure more privacy, there are different techniques, and one which is really developed in the team consists in using what is called differential privacy. And differential privacy basically can be seen as adding noise on your machine learning algorithm. But because, yes?
But less than 5 minutes.
Yes, it's my... Yes, I finish in the next slide. And because you just have, you add noise on the models, then in fact, you will have to do a trade-off between privacy and utility, because in a way you are going to destroy a bit the result, because it's not exactly the result that you would have on the original data. It's a bit noisy results, so you have less utility, but you are more private because you are able to ensure that we cannot retrieve like individual patients. So to conclude, like the team tried to transfer the results of research into like software. And so we have the development both in R and Pythons. And on this slide, I have just put some ongoing projects just to illustrate some of the topics we are interested in. So thank you very much for your attention.